Rich kids shouldn't mess with the occult, but sometimes when they do, we get an entertaining story.
Yeah. Okay. Or should I be? Welcome to Fantasy for the Ages, the show where a father and son talk about fantasy, science fiction, and other nerdy things that we enjoy. I'm Jim, the father of that equation. Is that how I'm supposed to say it, Zach?
I mean, if you choose to say it that way, I'm Zach. I'm the son. Hi.
And we are glad that you're here with us today. We've got a book blast for you, just a spoiler-light review reaction to Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I'm not sure if that's how you say the name, but it works for me that way. Zach read this recently. I have
I
not
did.
read it, but it's on my TBR. So he's going to share some thoughts on the book without spoiling it. And if you've read it already, you'll know what he's talking about, and you can let us know whether you agree or not. If you haven't read it, you're like me. You're getting a taste, and it'll help you discern whether or not you ought to read this book. So what you got for us today, Zach?
So Ninth House, I ended up reading earlier than I expected, but partially because a friend was very recommending it and she loved it. So I was like, okay, let's give it a try. At which point I realized, oh, it's by this author.
You already knew this author from something else?
It made me feel dumb. I have Six of Crows sitting on my shelf ready to read. It's the same author.
Ah.
Um, so at this point, I'm now more excited for that book because I really liked this one.
They're not connected, though, are they?
No, not at all. Six of Crows is connected with the whole Grisha-verse and Shadow and Bone and all that. This is something entirely different. This takes place modern day Yale University, which I've been to. It's beautiful.
We've toured it, yeah.
Having seen it did give me a little context for some of the things here and there, at least a mental image. Not as much as if I had like gone to Yale probably and like spent more time there, but I had a general concept.
Cheaper though, not going to Yale.
True. But no, it's a good book full of secret societies and occult practices and various funny magic things or not, as well as a interesting look on some class differences and how people view each other.
Okay.
But it was an entertaining read. One of my weird favorite things from this book was some of the naming of people, specifically nicknames. Nicknames are like normal, fine, whatever, right? But something about taking the name Galaxy, which is weird, and shortening it down to the smaller Alex, a nickname from the middle of a name, I'm here for it. But you never see it.
Probably
there are very few names.
Wouldn't your nickname be Ache?
You get some weird things. You could go like, no. It's Ka, you know? I'm like, nah, we're not going to do that. But when it works, it's pretty cool. Now, this is definitely an adult book. There are some adult themes and contexts.
Okay.
There are some icky things here and there.
Just or cringy icky.
Let's go gore icky.
Oh, okay. No, that's just more interesting then. All right.
And it's not like to a gratuitous extent, but there is some violence here and there, and there's even just like very early on, occult rituals sometimes involve blood or body or something, and like the idea of prognostication going way back to like the Greeks and before, where you're reading stuff in entrails. That idea, is something that exists and is done by these Yale rich college kids.
Are there high stakes involved at all in this story?
Yes. This story itself feels much more personal. There are technically higher stakes to some of it here and there, but a running theme throughout it, and this is where you get some of the look at class differences, is just that to a certain extent, there might be high stakes. People die, things happen, but if you're rich enough, daddy still makes it go away.
We don't worry so much about the little people.
And that issue is important and talked about. However, is this world ending? Is this epic fantasy? Not in this book, at least.
Okay.
There is a sequel and there's plan for a trilogy.
That's what I was going to say. So
And I
this
do
is not a
believe it
standalone.
gets bigger and further from here, but this gives us a great taste of the world. You grow attached to certain characters, even some characters that aren't really present for most of our actual story, you grow to really like.
Okay. Do you also grow to really dislike some of these characters?
Some people get what they deserve.
Okay. So do you think I'll like it?
I think there are certain elements to it that it's not going to be your favorite book that you read. I don't think you would regret reading it. It should be on your TBR somewhere.
Which it is. I don't remember exactly where on the TBR, but I think it's in the top half.
With your preferences, my inclination says that's probably a safe place for it to be. It shouldn't go further down. It shouldn't like go further away out in your reading. But there's no burning need for you personally to move it up further. If you
Okay.
do something a little lighter, a little more modern of a take,
A
with a
cult
strong
with
female
reading
lead,
of entrails, and this is a little lighter.
lighter in the sense of like world building. It takes place in Yale. It's our world.
Okay.
The other thing that I would say is after my friend recommended this book and she was talking about how much she loved the series and what she liked about it, I in turn then said, hey, go read Babel. They're different, but if you really liked Babel, you will like a lot of the things in this book as well.
Okay. And I have not read Babel. I've only read The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. I'll get to Babel eventually, but it's not on a fast track for me. Too much else to read. All right. Well, thanks for giving us a taste of what we might expect jumping in the ninth house. If you've read it and you agree or disagree with anything Zach said, use the comment box. Go ahead and talk to him. I'll make sure he sees what you said.
I see it eventually.
Oh, he does. He looks. Okay. Very good. Any last words you want to share on the book, Zach?
I do plan to read the next one. I'm excited.
What
It's
is the
probably going
next
to be a little Hellbent is the
There we go.
next book. It'll be a little while just because I've got other books I am reading and I don't feel a need to immediately read the next one.
All right. Good enough. That's where we'll leave you then, everybody. Just a short little book blast. Thanks for joining us today. We'll talk to you next time.